One, two, three. This is Second Ezra, chapter 9, verse 1. It reads, He answered me then and said, Measure thou the times diligently in itself. And when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the Highest will begin to visit the world which he made. I want to start off by giving all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Rafah HaKadash, double honors, all right, to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and have taught me this word in truth and sincerity. Peace and mercy to the elect, starting with 144,000, that's also pushing this word in truth and sincerity across the four corners of the earth. And the rest of the elect, peace and mercy to you and your household. All right, I'm your fellow servant of Moth of GMS Toronto, coming at you once again, all right, with another live lesson. It's going to be another edition of Doomsday Prophecies, connecting world events to Bible prophecy to strengthen the faith of the elect, okay, as we approach the heaviest time, all right, that the earth has ever witnessed and all its inhabitants, okay? We're soon done, all right? And as you can see, you know, in Second Ezra chapter 9 and 1, knowing what times we're in, you can only do so by going to prophecy, Bible prophecy, okay? And soon enough, these plagues, all right, that the Lord is bringing upon the earth are going to intensify more and more and more and come rapidly, okay? Where you won't even have time to think. So it's either you're in the spirit or you get caught up. These are how we measure the times and knowing where we're at, okay? And as you can see, the title for this this edition of Doomsday Prophecies is Plagues, Earthquakes, and Pestilence. Get right. Plagues, earthquakes, and pestilence. Get right. All right? Because these events, that these plagues, these earthquakes, these pestilence, right? The distress of people, okay? All of this is happening, all right, as scourges, all right, as a judgment and punishment from the Heavenly Father, who the world even calls God. His name is Yahweh, okay? So let me actually get that, okay? Sent as plague as punishment, okay? Okay? The majority of you people, all right, talking about you Israelites, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and you speckled birds out there are not going to get it until it's too late, okay? You're not going to get it until it's too late. And then when it's too late, you'll seek to cry out to the Lord for help, for mercy, for protection, and it won't come, right? Why? Because when he called out, no one regarded. When he reached out his hand, all right, you Israelites basically smacked it away. Okay, this is Second Ezra 15:49. It says, "I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence, to waste thy houses with destruction and death." Let me see. And that's serious, right? With destruction and death. Let's see if it gets that point. Okay, power dried up and that should be weak and poor. Okay. Yes, it says, right? Read verse 49. I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence, to waste thy houses with destruction and death. and the glory of thy powers shall be dried up, right? Everything that you Israelites, all right, and the rest of the world, all right, take pride in, all right, is going to be your very downfall. You will no longer, through the judgments of the Lord, as they intensify, all right, be able to take pride in these things. This is for the same reason of pride. Okay, it's the reason why the Lord is about to bring or is bringing immense judgment upon the earth. Okay, as it says, um, and the glory of thy power shall be dried up as a flower. The heat shall arise that is sent over thee, that is sent over thee. Okay, hard times. Thou shalt be weakened as a poor woman with stripes, and as one chastised with wounds, so that the mighty and lovers shall not be able to receive thee. Let's see. It's not the exact one I'm looking for. Let's see. No, it's there it was 16. Thought it was 15. Second it was 16. Maybe plagues are sent unto you, who should drive them away. Let me just get into chat. See if I find it in chat here. Bear with me, everything's taking a little slow. Here we go. Hey, chat. There's a precept in the Bible, as well in the Prophetica, that talks about plagues being sent as punishment for sins. Bear with me here. Got a couple of videos and that I'll get into, as well as precepts, of course, and then I got an article as well. Oh, it is 16. I knew it was 16. Just didn't know exactly where. 16 and 19. Okay. Yeah, so second Ezra 16 and 19. Yes, there you go. It says, behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. Okay. But for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. You see that? And this is what's going to cause these scourges and plagues and the judgment of the Lord to ultimately intensify until everybody recognizes and is forced to fear Yahweh Bashem El Shai, man. Okay? This is all these events, all right, and the judgment of the Lord and all these events that are taking place on earth are not just for the controversy of Zion, but they're also to glorify the names of Yahweh while Yahweh Shai. Okay? So let's go into this clip here. This is from Dabu 7, right? Concerning the earthquake just about a day ago. All right. I think it was 2 days where 7.4 magnitude earthquake rocks Colombia. Okay. And then you just 3 weeks ago, you had another 7 points, I think 5 or 7.8 magnitude earthquake that hit Venezuela. Okay. And that's Jake. This is all Jake here. Okay. So judgment. So let's go ahead and listen. Fair use, fair use, fair use. I'm not receiving any monetization or any money for this video whatsoever. I'm only sharing this video for educational purposes only. Fair use, fair use, fair use. Okay, audio's not working for some reason. What the hell's going on here, man? Slacker. It's always something. Always something. Oh, okay. Let's see.
Okay, we have a monster. And we have a monster 7.4 earthquake striking in Colombia. We've also seen aftershocks. This was initially a 6.6, upgraded to a 7.4 magnitude. You can see this disaster has people trapped under the rubble, people running all over the place, just trying to make sense of what just happened. You can see the people trying to dig out what they believe is people trapped underneath the rubble here. A heartbreaking scene. This was felt all the way into Venezuela. This earthquake.
And it's crazy, Slacker. But something like this happened to the elect, and they instantly, even when little things happen to the elect, they instantly know it's the Lord, right? And that's the gift of the Lord, and fear and faith in Him. But these people, something like this happened, and they still don't comprehend that it's from a divine power. And this is why things are going to have to intensify and get worse for people to recognize and fear the name of Yahweh or Yahushua.
On the coast, on the Chaco province, at roughly 7:34 a.m. local time this morning. According to the services, the quake struck at a depth of 79 kilometers, and the epicenter was near San Jose del Palmar. Shortly after the initial tremor, they started to upgrade. They said initially this was a 6.6, and then it's risen all the way up to a 7.4, and that's where it sits right now, with aftershocks hitting in the area as well. It looks like the 4.6 aftershock was upgraded also. So this could see more earthquake activity down here. Let's hope that the worst of it is out of the way. Prayers going out to everyone in Colombia, knowing that they're still trying to find people in Venezuela as well. Horrific earthquake situation here down in Colombia. I will leave a link. Join me for the live shows Monday, Wednesday, and Friday as I update to this and a whole lot more. I hope to see you there.
Yep, let's get this one too. There's that. And then this is another video from Dabu7, right? Fair use, fair use, fair use. I'm not receiving any monetization for this video. I'm only sharing this video for educational purposes only. All right. So fair use, fair use, fair use. Right. Going to the pestilence, it says tick explosion. This is how ticks use physics to fly via static electricity and catch you. And with these ticks comes all kind of things. They're basically bionic jabs, okay? Because I'm pretty sure these ticks are genetically modified, okay, by you know whom, right? The wicked elite of Esau Edom, right? These technocrats. And with these ticks, have already let us know that you once you get bit by one, your ability to eat red meat is gone. Right. But it's not just that. We know with this devil, he only tells you what he needs to tell you, but it's always so much more. Okay. Just like with the serpent piss. All right. So let's go ahead and listen.
All right, guys, this on the tick infestation. This one you can see here on the move. And I want to point out, you've got one on this piece of grass right here on the tip, sitting right there on the tip of this. Now, what's crazy is here's another one down here at a spot where humans frequent. These things have set up shop on the very tips of grass, looking to latch on to humans.
This act of them sitting there waiting is called questing. And what scientists are saying now happens is when people go by very near to the object, the static electricity will pull the tick.
I gotta see if this is even natural. I didn't even know ticks can do all this. Let me double check and see if this is even natural. Let me just double check. Hey, chat. Do ticks naturally gravitate to people? Has it always been that way for ticks? Or is this a new development in ticks? Let's see what chat tells us here. Biological breathing. Let's see. Oops. Okay, let me ask like this. Have they always been able to use a magnetic force to have themselves attached to humans? Or is that a new development in their makeup? Let's see. I never heard ticks would be able to do that, but if it's true, it's true. But either way, right? Correction is what research recently discovered. See, look at that. Recently discovered my ass. There's an important correction here. What researchers recently discovered is not a magnetic force. It is, or it's an electrostatic force, static electricity. A 2023 study found that the natural static electricity charge carried by animals and humans can actually pull a nearby tick across a tiny gap and onto a host. In experiments, ticks could be left or lifted across gaps several times their own body weight. Is this a new ability of ticks? And chat came and give me a yes or no answer. So most likely, these are genetically modified. I'm pretty sure they are, if I'm not mistaken. But anyhow, almost certainly not. The discovery is new. The physical phenomenon isn't. Yeah, right. Esau knows all these things, but you didn't know ticks can do this? Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, so anyways, let's continue.
To the area toward the human. They can't jump. That's not how it works. They're actually pulled on through this wave of static electricity, and they're saying they've proven it, and that this is why people see so many when they walk through one little area. So it's very true. These bloodsuckers can fly through the air without wings, and they're using physics to do it. Other people have argued they see these things running at them. I've seen it myself, and it's almost like they're attracted to your human frequency, to be honest.
Or whatever is in you based upon how many boosters you took. Okay, and this is not medical information.
But this is how they're attaching to people very easily. I want people to be aware. There's an explosion of this going on around here. A ton of different ideas as what's going on, if they're dropping them off, who's behind it, what's really going on. And there are serious diseases out there connected to these ticks, and they're being used as a weapon. We know that. So a heads up, if you guys are seeing anything in your neck of the woods, let me know in the comments below. Leave some detail and join me for the live show. Go on live.
Okay, let me ask chat this. Look at that preset. Okay, how many diseases are connected to ticks when bitten by one? As now it is said that once bitten by one, you won't be able to eat red meat. And did Bill Gates genetically modify ticks as well as mosquitoes? Which I know he did the mosquito thing, right? Sent out billions or millions of mosquitoes. Not even real. And this is all the Lord's doing. See, what the majority of the world, only the elect understand, and majority of Israel don't understand is that Esau Edom is the left hand of the Most High through Satan. So it's the Most High, Yahweh, who's putting the mind and the spirit on Satan to do these things, because these are all a part of the Lord's judgment. Okay. I'll separate the three claims: tick-borne disease, the red meat allergy story, and Bill Gates. Okay. There's one part of your question where the record is more interesting than a simple no. See, Gate Foundation has funded genetically controlled research involving both mosquitoes and cattle ticks species. So you already know what it is. You already know what this devil, you already know what it is. This is this devil, man. Okay. hey man, all these new diseases, and the Lord said he would do this. I'm going to create plagues and diseases that are not even written in this book. And now that we're at the end of prophecy, we're seeing how the Lord is doing that. He's going to do it divinely as well. Everything he does is divine, but in a sense of just creating it or out of so-called nowhere, out of thin air, he could do that. We know that, but we're also seeing him doing that through Esau, Edom, right? And his what's the word I want to use? His wicked counsel, all right, of basically bringing forth death in all the ways he could think of. Because this man is a mad scientist. The Lord put that spirit on him, so he will develop certain things that fulfill prophecy. As he said, I'm going to create diseases that are not even written in this book. Let me get that real quick. Then we'll go back to chat. This is why you got to get right with the Lord, man. You got to get right with the Lord, all right? And if if you're already right with the Lord, you got to even get better. We have to get even better. We have to keep pushing on and developing our relationship with the Lord. I don't want to say it. I will bring plagues that are not okay. Only in this book. Okay. Oh yeah, it's Deuteronomy. Okay, Deuteronomy 28:68 or 61. Okay, it says also every sickness and every plague which is not written in this book of the law, written in the book of the law, them will the Lord Yahweh bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. You see that? And he's doing it through the mad science mentality of these devils, man. Okay. So it says, yes, there are quite a few ticks associated with diseases and conditions, but one tick bite doesn't mean you automatically get any of them. Yeah, okay, whatever. But how many diseases can ticks be connected to? 16 tick associated diseases, right? And that's just what they're telling us. All kinds of different diseases. Bill Gates genetically modified mosquitoes. There is a real fact underneath that claim, but the wording matters. Yeah, Bill Gates person did not. Okay, whatever. However, the Gates Foundation has funded organizations researching genetically modified mosquitoes primarily as a way of reducing malaria transmission. Yep, whatever. Under the guise of so-called peace and progression. This devil, all right, he's a murderer. Okay, he's a harbinger of death. Gates Foundation funded genetically engineered mosquitoes research. Okay, what about the genetic? Yeah, this part is also based on something real. Yeah, 1.4 million in 2021 assessed development of a self-limited tropical cattle tick. Okay, so these devils, the Lord has a spirit on these devils to create new diseases, man, daily. So let's get this precept. This is Isaiah 29. Okay, 4. It says, and thou shalt be brought down and shall speak out of the ground, right, concerning the earthquakes. And they also care. We know that they have the ability to create earthquakes, tsunamis, thunderstorms, right? Manipulate the weather. The Lord gave them that power to do so to fulfill His will. Okay, Isaiah 29:4, and thou shalt be brought down and shall speak out of the ground, and thy speech shall be low out of the dust, and thy voice shall be as of one that hath a familiar spirit out of the ground, and thy speech shall whisper out of the dust. Yeah, you can imagine all the yelling and screaming for help out of the rubbles, out of this, out of all the wreckage. And they're still finding people from in Venezuela. Moreover, the multitude of thy strangers will be like small dust, and the multitude of thy terrible ones shall be as chaff that passes away. Yea, it shall be at an instant, suddenly. Okay. Thou shalt be visited of the Lord, Yahweh of hosts, with thunder and with earthquake and great noise, with storm. And this summer, man, the weather has been crazy. It's been all over the place, but it's prophecy. It's been super, super hot in many, many places, right? And then it's also been there's been tsunamis and a lot of flooding in so many places, right? With storm, tempest, and the flame of fire, the flame of devouring fire. It's like I'm a little excited. With storm and tempest, and the flame of devouring fire. Okay? And that's happening, man. All of BC is declaring a state of emergency because of the fires. Okay? And that's the Lord, man. Okay? It says, verse 7, and the multitude of all the nations that fight against, that's the point there. Okay, let's read this in NLT. It says, I, the Lord of heaven's armies, will act for you with thunder and earthquakes and great noise, with whirlwind and storm and consuming fire. Okay? Lord's judgment. Let's go to Amos 8. Okay, I'm gonna read Amos 8, start from 4. Read down to 10 in the NLT. It says, listen to this, you who rob the poor and trample down the needy. You can't wait for the Sabbath day to be over and the religious festivals to end so you can get back to cheating the helpless. And this was back then in the time of the Second Temple, okay? Building of the Second Temple in Jerusalem. But you fast forward to now, prophetically, our people are their minds are nowhere near the customs and traditions and laws and statutes and commandments of the Lord. All right, they don't even think about a Sabbath day. During the Venezuela uh, um, earthquake, they were in a festival. During it happened, they were in a festival. All right, venerating the god of, I think there was a god of trembling. Right, and guess what the Lord did? He made that whole place tremble. Okay, so and these are the Lord is bringing it to Jake, man. Amos 3:1, right? You can't wait for the Sabbath day to be over and the religious festivals to end so you can get back to cheating the helpless, right? And the scriptures say, among my people are found wicked men. Okay, Jake's wicked, man. You measure out grain and dishonest measures and cheat the buyer with dishonest scales. You mix the grain you sell with chaff swept from the floor. Then you enslave the poor people for one piece of silver or a pair of sandals. Now the Lord Yahweh has sworn this oath by his own name, okay? The pride of Israel, okay? I will never forget the wicked things you have done. The earth will tremble for your deeds. You see that? Amos 3:1, the Lord said, I'm going to punish you for all your wickedness because out of all the nations and the families on the earth, I've only known you. Okay? The earth will tremble for your deeds, and everyone will mourn. So Jacob's trouble is the world's trouble. And everyone will mourn. The ground will rise like the Nile River at flood time. Oops. All right. At flood time, it will heave up, then sink again. That's an earthquake. Okay. You got potholes, sinkholes, massive sinkholes. Okay. That just swallow up people while they're driving. All right. Due to the heat. Okay, it says, in that day, says the sovereign Lord, I will make the sun go down. And I think we just had there was a solar eclipse. Okay, but these events that we're watching that are taking place and we're in the midst of, these are just the beginning of the birth pains, man. A foreshadowing of the climax of the Lord's judgment. Okay, it's only gonna get worse before it gets better. I will make the sun go down at noon and darken the earth while it is day. I will turn your celebrations, right? Especially with the northern tribes, man, right? They're heavy into their idols, right? Scriptures say, leave Ephraim is a silly dove, okay? Um, leave him onto his dumb idols, roughly paraphrasing. I will turn your celebrations into times of mourning and your singing into weeping. You will wear funeral clothes and shave your heads to show your sorrow, okay? And if your only son had died, how very bitter that day will be. Okay? And this is what the prophets are sent to do, is to warn you about the day of the Lord and his judgment. And for those that are the elect, all right, to be sealed by Yahweh Shema Shai, all right, and get right. But the rest of you are through. Okay? Let's go to Matthew 22 or 24 and 4. Okay, I'll read this as well in NLT. It says, Yahweh Shai told them, don't let anyone mislead you, for many will come in my name claiming I am the Messiah, right? And that's literal. You have many people doing that, but you also have people claiming that what they know and the knowledge they have, all right, is the way to salvation. This is how you get through, overcome the events that are going to take place on earth. Okay, for many will come in my name, claiming I am, right? What does the Lord's name mean? Yahweh Shai means he is a deliverer. So many are going to say that they are the deliverer themselves, but they're also going to say they know how to make sure you get delivered as well. So many will come in my name, claiming I am the Messiah, and they will deceive many. Okay, and you will hear of wars. You will hear of wars and threats of wars. But don't panic. Yes, these things must take place, but the end won't follow immediately, right? Nation will go to war against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in many parts of the world, okay? But all this is only the first of the birth pains, okay? Only the first of the birth pains with more to come, all right? Now, let's get this clip here. This is from who's guy? Oh yeah, this is from Press for the Truth. All right, AI designed viruses and the push for another global shutdown. Okay, so fair use, fair use, fair use. So I'm not receiving any monetization or money for this video whatsoever. I'm only sharing this video for educational purposes only. All right, so fair use, fair use, fair use.
They sold us a virus once and shut the entire planet down. Now, they're rolling out AI that can design brand new viral genomes from scratch. Whether those things are even real or just another useful fiction, the excuse for the next global lockdown is already being written. And this time, the story is peer-reviewed, published, and ready to go. For the first time, artificial intelligence has supposedly designed complete living, functional viral genomes from scratch. Not tweak an existing virus, not slightly modifying one, but designing brand new ones that never existed in nature before. And they claim that they work. Stanford and the Art Institute just published it in the journal Science. They trained generative AI models, EVO1 and EVO2, on millions of genetic sequences. Then they told the machines to design complete bacteriophage genomes based on the 5X174 template. Out of 300 designs they built in the lab, 16 of them supposedly came alive. They assembled into virus particles. They infected E. coli bacteria, and then they
The Lord
replicated.
created a perfect devil, man. The shit they got cooked up for this earth, all right, for the people who they call goyim, which they are, right? But really, you're the goyim of all goyims, Esau Edom. Okay. The Lord has a spirit on these guys because 365 different tests on different viruses, and that's just what they're telling us. It's just what we know. It's about to go be crazy, man.
Scientists are quick to say, don't worry, these only infect bacteria. There's no threat to people. But we've heard that exact sentence before, right before the whole damn world changed. But here's the thing. Some of us have long questioned whether these viruses even exist as the independent pathogens they're sold as, or whether the entire model is just a convenient construct. But regardless of whether any of this is real biology or just more institutional storytelling, the capability or the claim of it is now being pushed in the open. In the same issue of Science, experts from the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security issued a blunt public warning. The ability to compose viral genomes using generative AI now exists. The governance to safely steer it does not. One of them said the quiet part out loud, that you can just prompt the model to say, make me an influenza genome that is more transmissible or more lethal. And the only real safeguard that the researchers themselves are talking about is filtering the training data, which any lab with broader data sets can simply not do. We already lived through the COVID fairy tale that collapsed while millions paid the price in lockdowns, mandates, and economic destruction. Now, the same institutions are handing generative AI the ability to allegedly write entire replicating viruses at machine speed, faster than any law or any regulator or any ethics board can even react. They call it medical progress, but the same tool that can design the cure can design the weapon. And once that capability or the story of that capability exists, it never goes away. History shows us what happens when powerful new claims land in the hands of people who believe the greater good justifies almost anything. And this is where the story turns darker. Just weeks ago, a group of researchers published a paper arguing that the best path to a sustainable future is to gently reduce the human population from over 8 billion to around 4.
That's heavy, man. That's heavy because that's half the world population, and it might even be more. But this whole depopulation idea, this is the Lord's idea. Okay, you want to call it eugenics, so to speak? All right, righteous eugenics. That's what this is the Lord's idea. He's gonna bring a mass destruction, right, and mass death throughout the four corners of the earth. He's putting these thoughts and desires, all right, and inspiration in the mind of the devil to fulfill his will on the left-hand side, because these are judgments to the wickedness of this that's taking place on this earth, especially in Babylon the Great, spiritually, aka America.
Billion by the year 2200. That's right, folks. Have it. They frame it as voluntary. No forced measures, they insist. We're just gently reversing and ending population growth. They say it would ease pressure on resources, reduce pollution, help wildlife recover, cut emissions, and even lessen poverty and conflict. But make no mistake, the idea that there are simply too many of us has never left the minds of certain elites. From the Club of Rome to various UN reports to billionaire philanthropists casually discussing how to shrink the human population, the idea that there are simply too many of us has never fully gone away. It's only been rebranded. Now, place that ideology next to this technology that they want us to believe is a thing, AI, that can design complete viral genomes. The researchers claim that they excluded dangerous viruses from the training data, but anyone with access to wider data sets or a different prompt can reverse that decision. History shows us what happens when new capabilities meet ideologies that view large-scale population reduction as a planetary necessity. So are they plotting the next plandemic or scamdemic to thin the herd? Maybe not in the sensational...
Oh, it's the Lord. Let's get this here. Leviticus 26 and 13 in the NLT. It says, I am the Lord Yahweh your power, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, so you would no longer be their slaves. I broke, and this, all these, promises the Lord made both in good and evil still apply today as we're in spiritual Egypt, okay? And we haven't been saved, so they still apply today. I am the Lord Yahweh, your power, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, so you would no longer be their slaves. Their slaves. I broke the yoke of slavery from your neck, right? Talking about the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, you Israelites. So you can walk with your heads held high. However, all right, and the Lord did this to us spiritually, right? To the elect, the hopeful elect, spiritually, okay? Breaking the strongholds of this world, breaking the strongholds of this wicked society. It says, however, if you don't listen to me or obey all these commands, and if you break my covenant by rejecting my decrees, treating my regulations with contempt, and refusing to obey my commands, okay, I will punish you. I will bring sudden terrors upon you, wasting diseases and burning fevers that will cause your eyes to fail and your life to ebb away, okay? You will plant your crops in vain because your enemies will eat them, right? In the ancient world, obviously, you have more farming, right? Planting crops, but now you just go to work, you work your 9 to 5, right? And you get your wages. But who's eating up the wages? These technocrats, okay? The top wicked elite. You sow more than you receive, okay? So these are all the plagues and punishments of the Lord For what? For disobedience, all right, of the Israelites. Now let's get this word ebb away. What the hell does that mean? The movement of the tide out of the sea. Oh, okay. The ebb tide. I knew the tide would be on the ebb. Okay. The movement of the tide out of the sea. Okay. So like the beginning of something bigger, I guess. But anyhow, waste away, ebb away, same thing, continuing on. And you know what's funny? It's like, okay, yeah, we know that we can't keep all the laws, statutes, commandments right now, right? So that's why Yahushua was sent. So there's still certain regulations and laws that we're to keep. No pork, no lineups, not committing adultery. Back in the time of Egypt, we were in an environment, all right, that was better than this environment to be able to keep those laws, even though we're in captivity, right? But we ultimately couldn't keep those laws because of the flesh. This all goes back to the flesh. Now, with the rules and regulations that Yahushua set up through his sacrifice and belief in him, all right, that's not even being done. So the Lord extended the mercy, and the mercy is still being despised, right? So if the mercy is being despised, then the judgment, all right, has to be greater. The judgment has to be greater. The Lord is going to bring heavy judgment because we're in a time now where he made it even easier for you to get right with him in terms of having faith in his son, right? Kiss the son lest he be angry. You want to get right with the Lord, get right with his son, right? But even with that, showing such great mercy through his son, all right, the Lord is the words of the Lord are still despised by his own people. So that means the judgment is going to be greater than it ever has been in the past when he sent out his prophets to warn his people. Okay. Verse 17, it says, I will turn against you, and you will be defeated by your enemies. Those who hate you will rule over you, and you will run even when no one is chasing you. And this happened heavy during chattel slavery, but this is going to even intensify even more during Jacob's trouble, the height of Jacob's trouble, man. Wisdom of Solomon, I think 17 talks about how even a drop of water are terrified the people in the time of judgment of ancient Egypt. How much more now and what's coming ahead? A drop of water have people thinking that their life was over. That's terror, man. That's divine trauma without the bonding. Okay. All right. As if in spite of all this, and if in spite of all this you still disobey me, I will punish you 7 times over for your sins. You see that? I will break your proud spirit by making the skies as unyielding as iron and the earth as hard as bronze, right? Which now that represents to how hard it is, how much hours you have to work just to get a little, just to get by. If you can get by, you have to put in 10, 12 hours a day, work overtime. But then if you work overtime, you get taxed more. So what do? All right, you just continue to suffer without no hope. See, the elect, the hopeful elect, we suffering. Yahweh Razzah, I'm of that number. We suffering, but we're suffering with hope. The Lord is also building us up, and also as we suffer more, he's continually increasing the inner man. You people are completely through. You're just catching the hell. Okay? And it's only going to intensify. As it says, all your work will be for nothing, for your land will yield no crops, and your trees will bear no fruit. Okay? You'll sow many and receive so little. If even then you remain hostile towards me and refuse to obey me, I will inflict disasters on you 7 times over for your sins, man. Serious. And that's what's about to take place here on planet Earth, especially in Babylon the Great, man. Okay, let me get this one. I did already just read this, but I'll read it again. 2 Ezra 16 and 17. It says, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? The beginning of sorrows, and great mourning, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear, and the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. But for all these things they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. Meaning, you need to understand why this is happening. Majority of people like Venezuela, Colombia, the majority of those Israelites are not thinking about why this is happening. They're just caught up in the fact that it's happening, and that's it. They're not thinking about why this is happening. The Lord said, "My people don't." A donkey knows his master's crib, right? And let me see. Let me just get that. 'Cause I can't quote it. Right? But he said, "My people don't consider." Right? You just things just happen because they happen, and then when the prophets tell you why they're happening, you have the galls to scoff and talk shit. This is why the Lord's going to kill a lot of Israelites, man. Forget the heathens. They're already through. The Lord's never been dealing with them, and there's going to be a lot of them that survive for slavery. But you Jakes, oh my goodness, you Jakes are through. Okay. Let's see, Isaiah 1 and 3. It says, "The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib. But Israel doeth not know. My people do not consider." Right? They don't think about why their life is the way there is, in sense of the judgment that the Lord brings upon them. Okay, and when they do, they're going to serve dumb idols, right? Really that are no gods, just demons. But then when the prophet is sent to them by the heavenly Father, Yahweh Shai, they scoff and mock and get out of here, right? And this is why the Lord's not going to have no pity on Jacob, man. Okay, and the Lord's going to put a cold spirit on his prophets as well, his elect. Okay. Now, this last bit here, this is from People's Voice. This article. It says Bill Gates funded bioterrorism using AI to create super lethal viruses that do not exist in nature. You hear that? That's the Lord. When he said in Deuteronomy 28 and 61, "I will bring diseases upon you and plagues," roughly paraphrasing, "that are not written in this book." And he's using these devils to do so. Because these devils are already mad scientists themselves. There's no boundary to their wickedness. So the Lord put the spirit on them to go ahead. He gave them technology, the earth, the resources, the money to do so, to bring judgment upon his people and the rest of the earth. Okay? 2/3 of his people. The elect are going to be good. It says U.S. scientists funded by Bill Gates have used artificial intelligence AI to create functional viruses that do not exist in nature for the first time, demonstrating a capability that researchers say can advance medicine, but also pose devastating bioterrorism risk. Of course, it's not going to advance medicine. It's poison. Okay, you can't advance medicine with poison. It says, according to the study of published, according to a study published in the Science on Thursday, researchers working in biolabs at Stanford University and the board of Institute of MIT and Harvard use AI to design thousands of complete viral genomes. Nearly just thousands, okay? Nearly 300 of the designs were chemically synthesized and tested in Gates-funded laboratories, biolabs, producing 16 potential deadly viruses. It's probably way more than that. Let's just listen to this guy here.
The Gates Foundation just funded the first ever creation of 16 synthetic viruses using AI. For the first time ever, mad scientists used AI to design entire viral genomes, physically manufacture them, and turned them into 16 new functional viruses capable of replicating. The work was published in Science, one of the world's most prominent scientific journals that is corrupted. And the senior author, Brian Lee, you'll see him up top there, who conceived, designed, and supervised the study, disclosed funding from the Gates Foundation. They generated hundreds of AI designed viral genomes, manufactured the DNA, assembled them, and recovered 16 functional bacteriophages that successfully propagated and killed the bacterium they were inside of. They used EVO1 and EVO2 genomic language models that essentially function like ChatGPT for DNA, predicting nucleotides instead of words and writing complete genetic blueprints for these viruses. Now, these particular viruses, the bacteriophages, infect bacteria, not humans, but this is a dangerous precedent. The barrier separating digital AI output from an operational biological agent has now been crossed. This technology should be halted before it falls into the hands of bioterrorists or other criminal actors.
Okay, and remember, we're going to be blamed for all of these things, because just like what's his name, Nero, right? He burned one of the temples in Rome. I think it was the Temple of Zeus, and he blamed the Israelites. He blamed the Christians, which were the true Christians, are the followers of Yahweh Shai, right? He blamed them for the burning of the temple because they would prophesy about, fire coming down and burning up the place, right? So he blamed them, and then persecuted harshly, all right, the Christians, the true Christians, followers of Yahweh Shai. So it's gonna be the same thing now. All right. However, the Lord puts in this mind for this devil to do so, we're gonna be at the forefront of everything that's bad. And that's where we're gonna see, all right, who the Lord is dealing with, man. If you really, if the faith is genuine. Okay. All right, so let me get two more precepts here. This is Isaiah 32, okay? And Isaiah 32 and 6. All right, Isaiah 32 and 6, it says, "For the vile person will speak villainy, and his heart will work iniquity, to practice hypocrisy and to utter error against the Lord Yahweh, to make empty the soul of the hungry, and he will cause the drink of the thirsty to fail." Right? The instruments also of the churl are of evil. He devises wicked devices to destroy the poor, because best believe at the forefront of this devil's mind, all right, is the elect. All right, at the forefront of him creating all these diseases in his mind, he wants to get rid of the elect. He wants to get rid of all of Israel, but starting with the elect. Okay. Let me read this actually in the NLT, see how it sounds. NLT says, "For fools speak foolishness, and make evil plans. They practice ungodliness and spread false teachings about the Lord," right? Yahweh. They deprive the hungry of food and give no water to the thirsty. And that's both literal and spiritual in terms of this truth. The leaders of Israel, so-called leaders of Israel, the wicked leaders of Israel, have been paid and bought for, all right, by Esau, Edom, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're starving out their congregation, all right, or rather giving their congregation GMO food, okay, and spiritually, by wrongfully breaking down the scriptures, not talking about very important prophecies like the mark of the beast, okay, Jacob's trouble. That's likened to taking the food and water away from the congregation, right, to starve them out, which means to starve out means to be destitute of hope, without understanding and knowledge. Because the scripture says, Isaiah 33 and 6, "Wisdom and all should be the stability of our times, and the fear of the Lord is his treasure," man. How can you acquire those things if you're being mistaught? Okay? You're being mistaught the scriptures. That's why you got to know who you're listening to. Okay? And pray to the Lord to guide you to his true teachers. Okay? And he will do so if you have genuine faith. Verse 7, the smooth tricks of the scoundrels are evil. They plot crooked schemes, they lie to convict the poor. Even, that's you Israelites, right? Even, or us Israelites, even when the cause of the poor is just, starting with the elect, all right, the prophets. Okay. Okay, that's good. But generous people, verse 8, right, being the elect, starting with the prophets, plan to do what is generous, which is teach you truth, right? Have charity, brotherly love, and continue to develop in the fruit of the spirits. Okay. And they stand firm in their generosity. We're not gonna stop doing this work, man, until the Lord tells us to stop. All right. The elect will not lose faith in Yahweh. All right, while Yahweh die, they'll stand firm. Let's get this in the last one here. We always bring this out, Psalm 64. Okay. It says Psalm 64 and 5. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privately. They say, who shall see them? They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. But Yahweh, Bashim Ashai, shall shoot at them with an arrow suddenly, and they shall be wounded. Okay, so that they make their own tongues to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. So all the wickedness that these devils are doing and everything that they're behind is going to be found out that it's actually them instead of us. Okay, the Lord's going to turn everything right back on this devil's head, man. Okay, everything. Let me close it out with this. Job. Okay, Job 5 and 12. It says, all right, Job 5 and 12. Straight to the point. He disappointeth the devices of the crafty, right? So that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. So all the different diseases and plagues and robots and you know, everything that this devil has as a sword to bring upon Israel, starting with the elect. All right, it's not going to work. Okay, and then obviously going into the New World Order. That's the ultimate, all right, device and enterprise that the Lord is going to dismantle. He's going to frustrate. Okay, as it says, he taketh the wives in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the Lord is carried headlong. Right, NLT, he frustrates the plans of schemers, so that the work of their hands will not succeed. Okay, he traps the wise in their cleverness, so their cunning schemes are thwarted, man. All right, so the elect's going to be good, man. We're going to, you know, Yahweh rises above that number. We're going to be good. All right, so anyways, with that, that's all. Lord willing, this was straightforward, edifying to the elect of the nation of Israel. I'm going to close by giving all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Rakha HaKadash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders and those who rule well. And I've taught this word in truth and sincerity. All right, peace and mercy to the elect, starting with 144,000. That's also pushing his word in truth and sincerity across the four corners of the earth. And the rest of the elect, peace and mercy to you and your household. Now, Baba Ball, Kwama Sha'ala, and Shabbat Shalom to the elect, man. Stay strong and continue to develop that relationship with Yahweh Bashim Yashai.